I've only been in my profession for around 6 months, so I think the IMC opportunities will come in time. But straight away, I'm finding it very complementary to the things which I'm doing within my day job in terms of the wider understanding of the sector. And I think going forward, it just allows that kind of bridge to move into from a kind of middle office job to more front office jobs, or indeed to move between the different parts of the financial sector, because you've got that foundation level of knowledge.
In terms of opportunities that IMC brings me, I believe it still may be a little bit early to say, but I think as an employer, if I do want to look for a new job, think somebody who just graduated, who has a job and also has already a professional qualification, I think it could really help me leverage myself at interviews. Not only that, I think most of the interview questions that you get in terms of the technical stuff, the answers, you learn them in the IMC. And as well, in terms of choosing what you like in your future career, that helped me a lot, because you kind of cover most topics in investments and you kind of have a better idea of what you might be interested in. So in this way, I would say it would help my career.
So in terms of opportunities from doing the IMC, I think it gives a good grounding to embark upon other qualifications. I think it puts you above the rest with amongst your peers in the office. You can certainly talk to a higher level. And when seeking out other opportunities, it just shows a real commitment to the industry as well.
Opportunities, once you've got the IMC exam, are massive, basically. In the line of work that I'm in, it's a requirement to have a certain degree of professional qualification, which the IMC gives you. So yeah, having that opened up loads of career opportunities and fortunately enabled me to get a new job.
The IMC's helped me in my career to date, and I'm relatively new to the sector, but it's allowed me to unpick the language almost straight away. So before, when I first started, I was quite muddled in terms of what was kind of happening and some of the different concepts, but just by actually physically learning some of the language around the industry, some of the terms, some of the ways that the financial sector actually works, which the IMC provides, by the way it's split down in the different units and the different chapters, but was just really helpful in doing my day job, and hopefully will be helpful in the years to come as well.
I think it really helped me at my current job. So some of the questions that I used to ask my manager, I don't ask him anymore. I also think it reflected really well on my performance evaluation at my job. Having the sort of qualification really early on, I think it reflected really well. And I think if you really want to go into investment and you don't have a lot of background or you don't have a degree in economics, I think it really helps to just give you the sort of the basic knowledge that you need to get into a job in finance.
Doing the IMC has really helped me in my career because I've had roles in both the active and passive world, and it's just helped me give a good grounding of terminology for both, and just being able to speak with all different types of people around the office who have different specialties. I can speak to them at their level.
My balance of work and personal life whilst doing the IMC, and this might sound counterintuitive, but I certainly in the autumn was commuting from the Midlands, so I had an hour train journey both into work and out of work each day. So I'd actually use the online learning resources which I download through Fitch Learning, who had a provider which I used, so I could look at either online tutorials or just go through practice questions, and I'd go through, try to target a chapter a day and just literally go through the practice questions time after time, almost until I was achieving a percentage that was going to get me through the exam, and it was almost kind of learning by doing in that particular way.
When it comes to balancing work and personal life, I really tried to do a couple of hours during the week rather than leaving it for the weekend, because I thought if I do 2 hours every day after work, then I might be able to have one weekend day for free, and that worked quite well with me. I also started quite early because I didn't want to stress out too much and give up all my free time towards the exam. So I think kind of just being more consistent rather than studying in big blocks.
Balancing work and personal life when doing a qualification is always going to be challenging, but I very much was about setting deadlines and just allocating specific time after work, sometimes before work, or maybe even just an hour at lunchtime just to read through the material.
Balancing my work and personal life plus studying for a professional qualification is difficult. There's no two ways about that. But you just need to make time. You need to find a way to do that. Make sure your life can kind of bend around that. And it might be that you need to give up some social commitments, but in the long run, it's absolutely worth it.
I decided to study the IMC because I was making quite a big sector jump. So I was previously in the military and was moving to the financial sector. So I wanted to achieve an industry recognised qualification within my first few months of arriving at my new place of work, which is Schroders. So I was very keen to do the IMC to start learning some of the language, because I felt in my first couple of weeks when I was going to meetings, they may as well have been in a different language, in French or Spanish. And as soon as I started learning IMC, I could pick up the concepts and some of the wording a lot easier.
I decided to study the IMC firstly because I thought it would be quite a good foundation in terms of my knowledge in investments. I really thought it would fill in the gaps, and it really did. Secondly, I was thinking of using it as an opportunity to find out other areas of investments that I might be interested in, for example, impact investing. And finally, I thought it would be quite a good way to start and set the ground for the CFA.
I decided to study the IMC mainly because it's sort of a benchmark qualification, and also just was an easy way to show my commitment to the industry and just bring up to speed my knowledge and terminology as well.
I decided to study the IMC because I had an interest in investment management anyway, and the role that I was looking to move into required a deeper understanding than I currently had. And I knew that the IMC exam would give me a greater understanding of investment management.
I think the advice I'd give, and it's going to be personal for different people's situations, but I find it very useful to have a deadline. And I was quite helped by the fact that the syllabus changes on the 30th of November, so I knew I needed to get both parts of the IMC done by then, so I set myself the target of doing part 1 by the end of October and part 2 by the end of November, and having that timeline allowed me to work back, because no matter how busy people's lives are, you can always find time if you know you've got a deadline. I think sometimes if you haven't, you can just let things slip, so I think having that deadline was quite useful for me.
If I had to give some advice for people who are studying the IMC, I think it would be just to start early, because you won't even feel like you're studying if you start early. You just kind of be sort of training attitude, rather than leaving everything for the last 3 weeks and having no social life for 3 weeks. Also, I would say trying to use what you learned at work if you do work in investments. I did that, for example, with concepts like bond duration. I really used that at work, and it really helped me remember things. And finally, I'll just say kind of use different types of learning, so use videos, also use like writing, reading, so just mix and match. That helped me.
Advice that I'd give to people studying the IMC is commit to it, don't do it half-heartedly. It's different to some qualifications in that you need to set your exam date yourself. So what I would strongly advise is set your exam date early, know what time you're working towards, because otherwise there is a chance that you'll kind of put it off. It's much better if you kind of set a date and know that that's how long you've got to work towards it. Make lots of notes, read those notes, and ultimately exam practice is key.